You're listening to Catholic Family Podcast.
Hi, I'm Lisa Davis, and I'm back for another Feast Day Quick Take. Actually, two, as there are two notable feasts on the liturgical calendar today, the Feast of St. Agatha and the Feast of the Japanese Martyrs. What does St. Agatha have in common with the Japanese martyrs, you might ask? Well, first of all, they share a common feast day, of course, February 5th, and though they are separated by 1,200 years, they would find much to talk about if they met each other in the mansions of paradise. Things like persecution and courage, being as they were all martyred for the faith, but mostly, I think, they would discuss their great love for God, and the peace to be found in the midst of turmoil, when the center of your universe is the faith, instead of the shifting currents of the world. One of the earliest of Christian martyrs, St. Agatha comes first in our quick takes for the 5th day of February. St. Agatha was born near Catania, Sicily, around the year 236 AD, and was martyred during the persecutions of Decius in approximately 251 AD. Only about 15 years old at her death, she has a special distinction, being one of only a handful of virgin martyrs who are commemorated by name in the canon of the Mass. When she was only 15 years old, Agatha was forced to suffer the unwanted attention of a Roman prefect named Quintianus. The child of a rich and noble family, Agatha would have unfortunately come into the orbit of this corrupt man, who was attracted not only by her beauty, but by her noble standing and sizable dowry. A devout Christian already, though, Agatha had the courage to reject Quintianus, who refused to take no for an answer. Discovering she was a Christian, he attempted to leverage this knowledge with threats of exposing her illegal faith to the authorities, expecting her to give in when she was faced with torture and possible death. Instead, she once more rebuffed the prefect and reaffirmed her faith in Christ. It is recorded in the Golden Legend that she prayed, "Jesus Christ, Lord of all, you see my heart, you know my desires, possess all that I am. I am your sheep, make me worthy to overcome the devil." Quintianus, determined not to lose to the will of a young girl, imprisoned her in a house of evil women. But Agatha, heroic as ever, and buoyed by constant prayer, never lost her confidence in God and remained unsullied and determined. Enraged, Quintianus sent for her once more, argued with her, threatened her, and after her continual refusal to deny her faith, had her imprisoned and tortured. As recorded in the Golden Legend, St. Agatha was stretched on a rack and was torn with iron hooks, burned with torches, and whipped. Among the tortures she underwent was also the cutting off of her breasts. Finally, though half dead, Agatha remained steadfast. She was then sentenced to be burned at the stake, but an earthquake saved her from that fate. She was sent once again to prison, where St. Peter the First Pope appeared to her, healing her wounds. It is recorded, however, that she died soon after in prison, at about the year 251 AD. St. Agatha is the patron saint of Catania, as well as several other principalities in Italy and Spain. She is also the patron saint of breast cancer patients, martyrs, wet nurses, bell foundries, and bakers, and she is invoked against fire, earthquake, and eruptions of Mount Etna. In honor of their patroness, February 3rd through the 5th are days of great celebration, as you might imagine, in Catania, Sicily. And now the martyrs of Japan. This is their story. In August 1549, St. Francis Xavier sent his first Jesuit envoys, Father Cosmo de Torres and Father Juan Fernandez, to Kagoshima, Japan. Following standard protocol of the time, a contingent of the religious visited the daimyo, a powerful local leader of Kagoshima, asking for permission to build their Jesuit mission within the boundaries of his territory. It was an important coup for St. Ignatius to receive this approval officially, as it would be the first Catholic mission in Japan. Hoping that the presence of the mission would help create a trade relationship with Europe, Kagoshima assented. Initially, the shoguns, which were the next rung up in Japanese leadership after the daimyo, as well as the imperial government, supported the Catholic missionaries. In addition to promoting trade, they hoped that a little competition would reduce the power of the Buddhist monks in Japan. these monks having begun to be a problem to the civil leadership. It didn't take long, however, before this idea was replaced by suspicion of the Jesuits' influence as well. Fearing a takeover by the West, known at the time as colonialism, and a global reality that the Orient was well aware of, the Japanese government took measures to nip the problem in the bud by backtracking on their earlier acceptance of the Jesuits and outlawing Catholicism. Realizing the number of converts already gained by the Jesuits in the short time that they had been in Japan, it was not long before the government also started persecuting Catholics. All Japanese converts who refused to abandon their faith were killed. In October 1596, a Spanish galleon, the San Felipe, wrecked off the coast of Japan, and the local daimyo seized the valuable cargo. In the aftermath of the incident, the captain of the ship, in an effort to regain his cargo or in an effort to save his own life, claimed that the purpose of Catholic missionaries was to prepare for inevitable invasion, thus cementing in the minds of the Japanese leaders what had only been troubling rumors before. Subsequently, the daimyo escalated the persecutions to include the missionaries and 26 Catholics, 4 Spaniards, 1 Mexican, and 1 Portuguese from India, all who were Franciscan missionaries, as well as 3 Japanese Jesuits and 17 Japanese members of the Third Order of St. Francis, including 3 young boys, were executed by crucifixion in Nagasaki on February 5, 1597. Their feast day remains on this date in commemoration of their steadfastness in the faith and their unshakable courage. Persecutions in Japan continued sporadically until the arrival of Western missionaries in the 19th century, but not before hundreds more Japanese Catholics earned the crown of martyrdom. 42 of these have been canonized as saints. And that is the quick take for today. We'll see you again next time. Thank you for listening.
You've been listening to the Catholic Family Podcast. If you enjoyed this show, please share it with your friends and family. You can support the production on Patreon and PayPal, and you can reach Kevin at kevin89davis@gmail.com. Ad Maiorem Dei Gloriam, all for the greater glory of God.